Hi, this is Mike Flickinger again, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to get started, how this all works, and what's the best way to get started. So, let's begin. Very first thing you need to do is to pick the right domain. And what I mean by the right domain is often it's not really the name of your company that is the right domain. It's actually the services or goods that you provide. And so if you are in let's say you're a photographer and you live in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, the best thing you could do for yourself is to look for a domain, and let's say that you're a wedding photographer. So wedding photographer phoenixarizona.com is kind of an example of a domain that you would use. But in order to pick the right domain, you need to kind of see what the competition is doing, and you need to find out through Google how people are typing in when they're looking for a a wedding photographer in Phoenix, Arizona. Maybe they're typing it in Phoenix, Arizona, wedding photographer, or wedding photographer, Phoenix, Arizona. You have to find out which is the most popular phrases that they're using to look for your type of business. Now, I do understand that you still want to get your name out there, and let's say you're Mike Levitt Photography. So that's why sometimes I suggest more than one domain. Maybe you should be purchasing a domain that tells Google what your website's all about, or your services, and then the other domain that you purchase is kind of brand naming yourself, like for example Mike Levitt Photography. But when you do that, you want to make sure that the first domain that you purchase, or the dominant domain that Google will recognize you by, is the one that makes sense to Google, that describes what your website's all about. And then you buy the second domain and have it forward to that one, like for example Mike Levitt Photography, because that doesn't make much sense of what or where you're at to Google. And Google really doesn't like forwarding domains. They don't give much credence to them. And so you always want to make sure your primary domain is a description of goods and services and where you're at. And if you ever need any help with that, of course, we have an SEO group standing by to help you with that. And I think we charge you $50 to find the right domain for you. So if you need that kind of help, that's what we're standing by to do, is help you. Next thing you need to do is buy the right server. And we also have that product available as well. As we have a server company that will help you set up, and it's a pretty reasonable price. And the one thing about it is it's not a slow server. Now, most servers, it doesn't matter who you go with, if you go with us or somebody else, most of them provide a way for you to purchase your domains through them. And that's really the best way. You really don't want to get into the hassle of name servers and directing your domain to the right server and renewing all that. It's kind of nice to have it lumped up in one package, and most server companies will provide a way for you to purchase your domain through them, and then everything is linked up automatically as soon as you make that purchase and sign up with them as a server. So just kind of a little hint, wait to buy your domain through the server company that you're going to use. Now, the best way that you can start with making your website is to actually use a website template. Again, we have that for sale. We're trying to provide A to Z products so that you can completely build your site and have our assistance when you need it. And we have several different types of templates. We have a Joomla type of template, we have a WordPress types of templates, and we also have Flash. But the most important thing is we have a content management system. So you don't have to have a lot of knowledge about HTML or know how to code things and all that stuff. These content management systems are built-in features so that you can basically, if you know how to use a Word document, you can pretty well use these content management systems. So pick your template, and once you do that and make your purchase, then you're ready to upload it onto your server. Now once it's up and going, the next thing you want to do is add content to your website. And you really want to make sure you follow some SEO basic rules about adding your content. Really, the way you add your text, and when you take advantage of how the headers are used in your text, and really you want to make sure you're adding your keywords into your text so that Google is recognizing that you're an authority with those keywords because you've used it quite a bit in your website's content or in your website's text. Another important thing is, as you're adding photos to your website, is how you name your photos. Yeah, you could have a photo of, Joe Blow, and you name the photo JoeBlow.jpg, but that makes no sense to Google. Now let's go back to that little example of a photographer. If I was that photographer, Mike Levitt Photography, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm a wedding photographer, do you know what? Every photo that I put on my website, I would call it Phoenix Wedding Photographer 1.jpg. Phoenix Wedding Photographer number 2.jpg. Do you see what I'm doing here? Is I'm trying to show Google as often as possible that I have content regarding those keywords that I'm trying to use in my website. And again, if you need any help with that, we can provide the services of finding the right phrases for the different products or different things that you're trying to promote on your website. So add content. Now what do you do next after you add content? You keep adding content. Remember, search engines like websites that have fresh content to them. They're in their own competition. They're competing with other search engines, and they know how they stay ahead of the game is by always adding fresh content. And so they look for websites that are doing the exact same thing. So what you do is you add more pages. Maybe you could add a store to your website, add a blog, add videos, add more photos, add a calendar, add, and keep adding to your website. When I do a little SEO research and I try and see what my competition is doing, one of the first things that I do is I see how many web pages a website has. And if a website has, 200, 300, 400 web pages, I know that they're going to be pretty stiff competition to try and boot them out of the number one position. So you keep adding content to your website. Never let your website go stale. In fact, what I do is I spend about 15-20 minutes every morning, and I'm just adding a little bit of content every day. So when the website goes, or not the website, but when the search engines go out and crawl my website, they see that there's new product there, or new content there. And most importantly, you want to SEO your website. And so you need to know how to blog the correct way, using the right keywords in your blog. Next thing you're going to do is you need to have backlinks to your website. Other websites, other authority websites, having links back to you, indicating that you must be on a pretty important site because another website has linked back to you. You need to join some social networks, and you need to blog about your website on those social networks. You need to spend a little money on AdSense words so that you can start getting traffic to your website. And you need to kind of make a budget for that. If it's $1 a day or $5 a day, whatever it is, you need to start having traffic come to you through Google AdSense. And again, what you need to keep doing is adding content and adding it with the right keywords. So I hope this helped you out. I hope this kind of showed you how to get started with building your own website and building it correctly.